that means for the direction of the country.
High drama and high stakes.
Now, Michael Moore is a literal schizophrenic, I'm going to guess, because he'll tell you what's wrong with the Democratic Party, and then he'll tell you that you have to vote for them constantly.
He's just a weasel, but I don't
He's
think
just a weasel.
He's right. He's right. It's just that he is a weaselly guy as a guy outside of any politics,
even inside politics,
and pretty much everywhere.
So here, watch what he has to say about If you want to know why the Democrats are in jeopardy of losing to the Republicans, the Democrats pretend like they have no idea. Let's watch. Let's watch.
Biden won by 7 million, the popular vote. Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million.
Yep.
So
sure.
What would have to have changed to all of a sudden, all these millions of Democrats on Tuesday are going to want Trump back?
What happened is that their lives got worse. They did COVID lockdowns, vaccine mandates. They made their lives a living hell. They got them fired. They lied to them at the behest of their corporate donors. They didn't give them health care. They didn't give them a minimum wage. They didn't decriminalize marijuana. They didn't get rid of student debt. They didn't give the $2,000 checks, but they did give $100 billion to the most corrupt country in Europe, while telling us we can't have nice things. Do you understand? That's why the Democrats are. But he doesn't understand that. He goes, what changed? What changed is that's the problem. Nothing changed. People's lives got worse, not better. Kurt?
Also, with regard to the 3 million extra votes, I don't know if Michael Moore knows our perfect system called the Electoral College, but it literally doesn't matter on any level that they got the 3 million popular votes.
Doesn't matter. So watch, he keeps going on pretending he's trying to bullshit you into thinking that a lot of Democrats are going to come out and vote and they're going to win.
No, but hang on a second. You're a kitchen tables kind of guy, right? I mean, you're describing yourself as
even
when all three homes.
When an MSNBC host has to push back against your pro-Democratic Party bullshit, you know you stink. Here we go.
You're not in a bubble. You're out.
Maybe too much at the kitchen table. But,
Why do you believe that voters are going to turn out for Democrats if the kitchen table issues like higher gas and food prices are top of mind?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll tell you why. Because I'm asking them to.
I'll tell you why. Because I got really in trouble for my thing about green energy.
I love Jimmy Dore, man.
By pretending.
I love Jimmy Dore.
Electoral College works.
Here we go.
The American people, they're treated like they're a bunch of dummies.
Yeah,
and
we are.
That's what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
This is called projection.
We are treated like dummies.
He's trying to bullshit voters right now into pretending that the Democratic Party is about democracy instead of what they're about is imperialism, empire, corporatism, and war.
Isn't he doing it consciously, though? I think he's faking it consciously.
I think he's doing it consciously. Yeah, he's lying right now.
Idiots. Okay, now granted, there's 330 million people in the country, maybe a good 80 to 90 million aren't very bright.
So he just said half the country's dumb.
So that's who he's talking to right now.
So instead of that, do you understand that Michael Moore is now a...
So in the same breath, listen, I want you to see why I walked away from this democratic / leftist type of thinking that's going on right now in this country, right? I used to call myself a Democrat. I used to call myself that. I used to call myself a supporter of the blue team. I used to do that. But when you see this level of delusion that goes on from them, where they're so oblivious to why people are fed up and why people are upset and why people feel that their issues haven't been heard and why people are not getting served in this country, right? To the point where people had to go vote for a TV show host celebrity. You pointed at the celebrity as the problem? This is the delusion I'm talking about that you have. You refuse to accept that the 50% of this country or more who are upset with the way things are going in this country for the last 60 years, this just doesn't happen when Trump became president. Get that out of your head. People like me who are intelligent and read and watch and observe and pay attention to what's going on globally, economically, and locally, like a hawk, and get involved in debates and arguments and go back and forth. When we see what's going on and the level of delusion and blind loyalty that's coming from both sides, by the way. I don't just want to exclude Republicans, because this is what I'm trying to come back to. This is why they tried so hard to demonize the MAGA movement. By the way, in case you don't know what MAGA stands for, Make America Great Again. And when I asked about it, when I inquired, when I went to investigate, when I went to the rallies, when I went and spoke to Trump supporters, when I went to seminars and events and all these things, and I went to chat rooms and I went to forums, and I asked, I used my mouth and I asked, can you explain to me what you want? What does it mean? Because when I watch the news tells me that you're a MAGA extremist and you're a white nationalist and all this stuff. And when I heard these people talk to me and tell me that they're just fed up with the way things are in this country, they feel like their vote doesn't matter, their vote doesn't count, that nothing the government does seems to affect them in a positive way. They struggle financially. People have been losing homes. People are homeless. People can't seem to put enough fuel in their vehicle to go to work. People are struggling at every level, that they're so fed up that they were willing to take a chance on a game show host, which is the orange man bad guy that you all talk about. And instead of trying to open your eyes and your heart and your understanding to try and reach across the United States aisle, fictitious aisle, and say, you know what? Maybe you and I have something in common. Maybe you and I have the same concerns. We maybe differ in opinion on who we want to run the show, but guess what? We have 2 years of you getting what you wanted. 2 years of Mr. Joe Biden in office. 2 years of it. And literally, you could watch the chart, the data, go from here to like, boom, right down. There's nothing hidden. It's in your face. And then you're gaslighting us, telling us that we're crazy, like Michael Moore just said. First, Michael Moore just said, I love Michael Moore. I grew up literally watching Michael Moore movies. When Michael Moore did that George Bush documentary about the votes being stolen from Al Gore in Florida, I was all on board. I watched it. I was screaming from the hilltops, Michael Moore is right. When Michael Moore did the Twin Tower documentary, I was on board. I felt the pain, the hurt. When Michael Moore talked about where he's from, is it Michigan? Where the Rust Belt, where people were losing their lives and falling into drugs, and the factories closed down and moved to Mexico. Michael Moore is a good guy. He shed a lot of light on stuff that made us aware. But where I have to disagree with Michael Moore at this stage, and the same like Jimmy Dore right now, is why this delusional push for blind loyalty to a party who has never, ever initiated policies to make our economic situation better, and creating more wars around the world that we should have no business dealing with, removing independence on ourselves locally, and putting ourselves in the hands of the Chinese and the Russians more and more every day, and OPEC, which is all OPEC. In case you don't know, OPEC is like the Arabian conglomerate of oil, petroleum, and we're selling ourselves off. We're parting ourselves out, and these same politicians are getting on television and telling us to our faces that I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just uneducated. I don't know anything. I'm just a redneck, potato-eating, dumb, stupid idiot with no thought process, no analysis or a capacity for analysis. Therefore, I have no right to a vote. I have no right to speak. I've been censored on every platform, every step of the way. Ever since Elon took over Twitter, I've been fine. So I don't know. That might be a temporary whatever. But I want to tell you something. It should speak to something when you see this level of ignorance, where American citizens have been turned on each other to fight each other, when the ones we need to be looking at are sitting in Washington. You and I don't need to be fighting. So what? You like Joe Biden and I like Trump. Big effing deal. Politicians at the end of the day are going to be politicians. What my thing is, why are we not putting the foot on their necks? Why are we allowing them to make each other put foots on each other's neck? That's what's angering me. That's where my passion is coming from. And the second thing is, I'm not going to let people in the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, tell people like me what I can and who I can and cannot vote for. That's my main protest. My main protest is you can't shut me up. You can't ridicule me and make me think I don't have a voice. Because I was born in this country to have that privilege. All of us were. Same for you. And I will die to protect your right, as I hope you would die to protect mine. But what I've been watching ever since COVID started, ever since that whole thing started, was 50% of Americans have been slowly backing away into the darkness, allowing the thought process of it's okay to shut some people up if they don't speak the things we want to hear. And the second thing of delusion that I don't like, that eats me at my core, is the blind willingness to be blind to any corruption simply because it's your team. I'll tell you right now, I'll be the first to throw the entire Republican Party, even the MAGA movement, under the bus if I find out any shenanigans. The first one to do it. And believe me, all parties are guilty of corrupt behavior. All politicians have been involved in some scandal one way or the other, because right now it's down to one thing for me. Who is promoting sovereignty, freedoms? Who is promoting policies that's going to take us out of war? Who is promoting policies of diplomacy between other nations so that we don't have to go starting all these wars for the industrial military complex? Who is going to promote pumping money back into our own country, investing into ourselves for better infrastructure, for better schools, for better medical care, for better everything, technology? Who is going to stimulate and incentivize our local economy? Who is going to be selfish enough to say that we, America, have to become number one? We may not be. We're like 32nd right now, and it should be ashamed of that. And we're busy here talking about, listen, this country is a business. At the end of the day, this country is a business. Right? The country, there is no virtue in it. We have no moral leg to stand on as a nation. That's the honest truth. Where is the morality in what we have done? And you as a lefty, you should know what I'm talking about. Look at all the blood that we have spilled. And to have this iPhone, I allowed people to be slaves to make this iPhone for me. So I have no moral superiority. I cannot come at you from a moral stance. I cannot speak to you from a virtuous platform, which is what the Democrats do. This is what the so-called blue team does. The I'm better than you argument. What the hell are you talking about? Better than who? For what? What beliefs? What ideologies have you presented that has made the world a better place today? Besides acting as if you're all holier than thou because you believe that certain skin colors should have certain access to things, and we should punish another skin color because in the past this skin color was bad to that skin color. What are you talking about? Where did all this nonsense come from? This is America. Land of the free, home of the brave, the Constitution of these United States. That's what we should be all fighting together to uphold and to promote. Don't tell me about democracy on the ballot. Don't you dare tell me about democracy on the ballot. I will fight you with my words, not physically, unless you touch me. But I'm not going to let you stand there and tell me to my face that democracy is on the ballot. Since when? Give me an exact date when democracy was taken off the ballot. Because as far as I can remember, when I look at the way we run this country and the way we treat the citizens of this country with my wide open eyes, what about us shows that we are a democracy? Honest to God. And I want the people who identify as the blue team, I want the blue team people, when you see this, if by some chance you see this, Tell me, when did we ever have democracy in the United States? And when did we make policy that benefited the communities that are in need of resources in this country? Veterans, the homeless. Take a very close look. The problems got exacerbated under the Democratic ran cities. That's not a lie. That's factual. I'm not making that up. I've traveled to these cities. I've noticed the increase and the differences within the last 6 years. I've watched the decay. You all cannot sit there and tell me that you're living in this country with your eyes closed, going to work every day, paying your bills, paying taxes, putting gas in your car, buying food, and having a hunky-dory time. But hey, democracy's on the ballot. Ain't nothing wrong over here. By the way, we're in the middle of getting into World War III. Oops. And you know what these so-called blue people tell me with a straight face? It was because of Donald J. Trump. He's the cause. He's the reason. Really? Is he? What did he do? Besides run for president. And when the guy was in office, I watched with my own eyes. I watched it with my own eyes. I watched everything that guy did from A to Z like a hawk. Because initially I was trying to find dirt on the guy because I'm a journalist. I was trying to build an entire show around that guy. I was trying to go viral with that guy. And instead what I ended up finding out was that he was like the stick in the mud. Because Trump would say something and he would just initiate it. Whether I agree with it or not, he would just initiate an action. And then you would watch the entire Washington machine and media machine circle itself around him and start attacking him and fighting him down. Oh, he wants to create peace in Israel. We can't do that. Or he wants to put the embassy in Israel. I watched it with my own eyes. I didn't have to agree with a lot of the things policies he initiated. That's not what my concern was. My concern was I started watching how the entire environment circled itself around Trump, and the environment exposed itself. The environment. That's why I have to say thank you, Trump. I thank him all the time. I even pray and I say thank you, Trump, because you exposed the entire system for what it was all this time. By him just taking an action or just taking an initiative or saying something, he was able to stir so much chaos within the establishment that the establishment was running, trying to build a narrative, trying to pull this and a resource and that and attack him and fight him down and stop this particular bill from leaving here and stop that. All the stopping that was going on around Trump. That's what drew my attention. That's what pulled me into awareness of what was going on. That's what I saw. That's what woke me up. I was already awake, to be fair, but that's what stood out to me. That was it. Let's finish up this video real quick before I leave.
A tool of the oligarchy to divide the country. He's just a partisan. He can't tell the truth unless it lines up with his partisan view. He has to lie to you. He thinks that you're stupid while he calls half the country, half the voting populace stupid. He's not saying half the country, which is what he really is. Yeah. But he's trying to say, oh, just the 81 million people who don't vote the way I want them to. They're dumb. Not that they have concerns, not that they were desperate enough to vote for a game show host, but that they're just dumb. There's no other reason why they would vote for him. They're just dumb.
Have you ever spoken to any of his former employees?
Right? Yes. Yeah. They all say
he's an aspiring oligarch.
Here we go.
To those of you watching who aren't bright, but that's, you're watching MSNBC, so I'm making an assumption that you know what's going on. But
the opposite is true of what he just said.
The opposite is true of what he just said. He said, I'm making the assumption that since you're watching MSNBC, you know what's going on. The host just had to push back against your own bullshit. The MSNBC host. You mean the MSNBC that wouldn't let a Russiagate skeptic on for the whole 4 years? You mean MSNBC that lies about everything at every turn? You mean MSNBC Rachel Maddow actually had to go to court and tell the court that what she says isn't real? That's what, just like Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow did the exact same thing.
They all got the thing of you're all too stupid and we have to lie. I'm doing a noble lie right now.
So this is Michael Moore believes it's okay. He's actually doing the thing he claims Republicans are doing. He's treating you like you're stupid.
Yep.
Here we go.
That's exactly the whole thing.
That means there's over 200 million of us that aren't stupid. And you cannot tell people that, gas prices, price of eggs.
Vote for me or you're stupid. Is that a great campaign slogan? I don't think so. And now he's going to dismiss working people's economic desperation. He's going to dismiss it right now. He's doing it right now. Watch, Kurt. Watch it. Watch this.
People that, gas prices, price of eggs. Yeah, if you're a woman, you're going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to just give up. I'm going to give up my rights. My bodily autonomy rights to get those price of eggs down another 20 cents.
We did a better job making nonsense dialogue for Bill Maher thing that you showed before than he did on that just now. That's something I would parody. I would write that line. It's almost so dumb you can't parody it. It's so incoherent that women who have children but they don't care about the prices of things. And
so you're just dismissed. So he thinks this is helping. He's so dumb. He doesn't know this is actually hurting. What you should do is say the Democrats care about prices and they care about inflation and they understand that when gas goes up to $8 a gallon, it's going to screw you over and you'll have to make decisions between medicine or heat or electricity or schooling or food or rent.
Being stupid?
But he's going to say you're stupid if you care about that the only thing women care about is abortion. Then that's it. Because that's all the Democrats have to run on. They can't run on anything else.
I think he's talking about mandatory boosters. He was talking about abortion.
Yeah. It's hot in here.
Yeah.
It's not how people think. They love this country. They love this democracy. They do not want to lose it on Tuesday.
And I agree with you.
How would the election is democracy. Voting is proof that we have democracy. And these are just scare tactics from fucking propagandists and willing tools of the oligarchy, because that's what he is.
Do you want to hear a blast from the past? I just remembered because of this, gerrymandering, the other thing of our amazing election system that I guess now is considered a Republican thing, but when I was a kid, I remember my dad listened to Rush Limbaugh, and Rush was complaining on and on about how Democrats keep gerrymandering. The thing that either of them could try to stop, but they're never going to end it. The real.
So Michael Moore has more dumb stuff to say, and I hate that I have to get to it.
But I was listening to a correspondent based in Georgia who was bringing us sound bites from people in terms of, here we go.
I have to reach out to some friends of ours that gave up on voting a long time ago. They don't like to vote.
He has to reach out to friends of ours who gave up on voting. What's your message, Michael, to people who gave up on voting because they voted for Barack Obama twice and their lives got worse? Those are black people in Milwaukee. What is your message to those people who quit voting? Because we showed you that the black people in Milwaukee wouldn't vote for Barack Obama, and they voted for Barack Obama twice, and they wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. That's how Donald Trump got elected. That's how she lost Wisconsin, not because of black and brown people. We're done. And this is his advice to those people. This is his way to get those people to come back and vote Democrat. You ready? What's your message to black people in Milwaukee who stopped voting after they voted for Barack Obama twice and their lives got worse? Here's his message.
Just say, will you just do this for me? Just as a favor. Just this
Anything for you, Michael Moore.
Oh, sure. You mean you don't have a reason why I should? You just gonna beg me as a personal favor? Yes, he doesn't have a reason. I'm gonna play it for you again, so we get a whole running start at this.
They don't like to vote, and just say, will you just do this for me? Just as a favor, just this once. You can go back to non-voting. But
so then what would be the point?
The way to really, if you're upset.
That's it. That's it. That's
and
all.
Then you can go back to non-voting.
And then go back to non-voting. That's it.
What kind of a...
Why would someone do that for you if there's nothing in it for them? Why would they do that?
And then go disenfranchise yourself after.
Yes.
Well, what if I'm a felon, Michael Moore? And
how about do this for me? You'll vote. You'll see that it makes a difference, and then you'll want to vote again. No, he goes, I get it. Nothing's good.
I know when word hits the street that Michael Moore is looking for a favor, you're going to see a lot of that black.
That's kind of, isn't that stunning, Kurt? That is stunning that he didn't have it.
Even for MSNBC, the lady's stunned talking to him.
With Biden, you know.
And so if you're upset with the job Biden's doing, or the job that Barack Obama did, this is his message for you. Listen to this message. This is almost unbelievable. Again, it's so dumb you can't parody it. But this is what a guy sounds like when he's lying to you because he's a partisan and he can't tell you the truth about this election because he doesn't want to lose his place in polite society and he wants to get invited to the Oscars and the Emmys and all the part. That's what this is about, and he wants to be able to raise money for his next movie.
I would like to say that watching this makes me realize I owe Stephen Colbert an apology for that vaccine musical number that I thought insulted my intelligence, but I now see was the highest respect.
Yes. Okay, back to Michael Moore. Watch this.
I have to reach out to some friends of ours that gave up on voting a long time ago. They don't like to vote, and just say, "Will you just do this for me, just as a favor, just this once? You can go back to non-voting." But you know, and the way to really, if you're upset with Biden, you know, then let's get a strong Democratic Senate in there, and those Democrats are going to make sure that Biden.
There's already a strong Democrat Senate. The Democrats had 2 years, baby. The Democrats have been running the show this far. You see the results? But hey, that's right, Michael Moore. I'm stupid. You're right. I'm just a French fry eating, dumb, redneck, gun-toting, pickup truck driving, tobacco chewing, spitting, damn ass, dumb white boy with no brain in my head, no analytical or critical thinking skills, no observational capacity. I'm just stupid. Isn't that right, Michael Moore?
Fulfills his campaign promises. So
if you vote for more Democrats in the Senate, they're going to make sure that Biden fulfills his campaign promises. Do you know the majority of the Senate is Democrat right now, and not one of them is pressuring Joe Biden to fulfill his campaign promises? Bernie Sanders is not pressuring him. The squad is not pressuring him. Elizabeth Warren is not pressuring him. No one is pressuring the Democratic president to do effing anything. And so he's just talking like an asshole now. He's just an asshole. That's what an asshole would say to someone who you're trying to get to vote. You'll just lie to them. That's a lie. You're not helping America by lying to people into voting against their own interests. He's just an asshole. Go ahead.
I just realized that if instead of saying all this, he declared a sex strike, that would be less embarrassing.
That would be less embarrassing.
Michael Moore's on sex strike unless you...
I just can't believe the amount of lack of integrity you have to be to go on and just lie. That's like a politician lying.
Yeah,
that's the politician level lying. And he's not even a politician, and he's not doing it after he's drunk at a bar. He's doing it on television sober, and he's telling you someone else is dumb. He's telling you someone else is insulting your intelligence. This is amazing.
This is a guy going...
That guy has no regard for you.
I know everybody's dumb, so I see his hamster wheel turning in his head. So
this is interesting.
Anything that'll help, and they're so stupid. I'm Michael Moore. I'll just say whatever I think a stupid idiot would maybe go for.
Yes.
So I'm switching between MSNBC and Fox News, and I kind of notice that everything seems skewed towards red on Fox, and then everything seems skewed towards blue on MSNBC. Now, I wish there was a way I could simultaneously... Hold on. Let me see if I could do this real quick. All right.
For higher prices, as well as a rise in crime in some of Wisconsin's largest cities. But Barnes is going to be counting on voters in
So,
specifically Milwaukee and Madison,
Vermont. Well, Vermont's blue. We know that.
between Democratic Governor Tony Evers and Republican businessman Tim Michels, very prominent in the Badger State. That could be even closer than the Senate race. Polls here in Wisconsin close in about 30 minutes, Brett and Martha. But this is not a state that's known for quick vote counts, so it could be a long one here and for all of the campaigns that we're following tonight.
Brady, thank you. We'll check back with you a little bit later tonight.
Over to Colorado now. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet, the incumbent, is hoping to fend off a challenge from Republican Joe O'Dea. Jeff Paul standing by at O'Dea's campaign headquarters. Good evening, Jeff.
Yeah, good evening, Brett. Polls here in Colorado about to close in about 30 minutes, and so far we've seen pretty much a steady stream all day of folks showing up to polling places like this to drop off their ballots, and each of those votes is really going to matter, especially when it comes to this U.S. Senate race, which in the last few days some polls have shown has really started to tighten. Now, on one side you've got the Republican challenger Joe O'Dea. He's a CEO of a construction company, and what makes his candidacy really interesting is that he is not only running without the support of former President Donald Trump, but he has said that if Trump runs again, he will actively campaign against him. On the other side, you have the Democrat who was appointed to the job in 2009, ran twice, Michael Bennet, and he is ready to move on to his third term and has really spent a lot of time as of recent vocally saying that he disagrees with Biden on certain key issues, especially how he's handled the border.
Particularly the senatorial race between Senator Cortez Masto and Adam Laxalt. As we talk about everywhere, all across the country, this is going to come down to a game of turnout. And there was a lot of worry. In fact, John Ralston, the dean of the Nevada Press Corps, has said the turnout is depressed, but that's not what we're seeing here at all in this mall called the Galleria inside of Henderson. This is what's known as a vote center. Let me show you. I think we got to look from above as well. If we give you that shot from above, you can look down. I'm over here in your bottom right-hand corner waving to you from the American flag. These are 30 different polling places inside this one particular location. There's 128 of these all throughout Clark County, Nevada. It's actually a pretty novel concept. There's 914 precincts in Clark County, Nevada, but you can show up at any of the 128 different voting centers just like this, and they have said that the lines are extraordinary, actually, in terms of this time of year. So follow me. Let me show you, actually, as a matter of fact. Come check this out. So this is where everybody is going to vote, but over here, and by the way, Merry Early Christmas, as happens sometimes in shopping malls. Election day is kind of like Christmas for some of us who are believers in democracy, and this is really democracy in action. Look at this over here. This is one room, only one of the rooms here where people are still waiting in line. I'm not a very good crowd counter, but there have got to be hundreds of people that are snaked around in here, and this is basically the middle of the line. How long have you been waiting?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay, so you're almost there. Good luck. She's about halfway, and there's a little bit of ways to go. Come and check this out. Earlier tonight, the line ended, Savannah and Lester, right about here. Now it's 3 times as long. Let's keep going this way. I talked to Joe Gloria, the registrar here in Clark County, Nevada, just yesterday, and he was saying that, you know, all this talk about election integrity and perhaps a lack of it would depress turnout here. It doesn't seem to be the case because he says, look, the elections are fair, they're safe, they're reliable, they're accurate, and indeed, it looks like the people, at least in Henderson, have decided they're coming out, and they are coming out in force. There's still an hour and a half until polls close. If people show up here and they get inside by that time, in fact, get in line by that time, they are going to be allowed in and going to be allowed to cast a ballot. One thing that does mean if it's a close election, however, is we may not have final results out of Clark County for at least 10 days. That is state law that says a slow and deliberate count is necessary in order to have a fair and accurate result. Savannah, Lester?
Yeah, Jacob, watching you walk to that mall, all I could do is smell Cinnabon.
I know. I was going to ask him for an Orange Julius, but that's quite an 80s reference right there. Okay.
You don't have
we already had one, Savannah. We already had one.
Make a projection, but it is neck and neck. In Ohio, that is a red-leaning state.
He's run a campaign, and the race is not over, so I'm going to say ran. He's run a campaign on the economy, on helping everyday Ohioans get to higher ground and make life better for their kids. That's the kind of campaign that Democrats, when they did win in
because it's
Ohio,
important to me. And I think that is so cool. That's like a nice thing.
Michigan,
I do think that what you're seeing is huge interest in this race. we see it in the early votes. We also see it in the spending, right? Politics is money. This is going to be the most expensive midterms ever that we've ever seen, right? And that is not traditionally something that we see for the midterms.
Inflation.
Yes, less than $10 billion in that number. But you also have to look at it, and we're seeing it in the exit polling too, what people are driven by. Why are they turning out? And this is maybe less of a happy note than like yay voting, right? And it's really about people being driven by anger and by fear. That is what our pollsters are telling us. And by the way, we now have data. That is what is happening today. We have these exit polls here that we can pull up that show that people in both parties are giving both parties thumbs down, right? The majority of voters in both parties. You've got Republicans who think Democrats are too woke, Republicans who think Democrats are too extreme. That is what is driving people out to those long lines, whether they're standing here in person or whether they mailed in their ballots.
And at the same time, some Democrats who you would not think are extreme are considered as extreme, like Maggie Hassan in New Hampshire, is considered as extreme as Don Bolduc, even though the Republican popular Senator John Sununu, whose face we just called him a conspiracy theorist, his own candidate, his own, running mate. So you've got candidates who are viewed negatively by voters in both parties, and the president. Also, the president is a real drag on the ticket we see in the exits from Ohio. And this is typical of a first-term president in his midterms, and that's something that we should show as the context here. Presidents in their first terms lose big in the midterms. Those are the historic trends. And so Joe Biden should be poised not to, not to do better than historic trends.
And yet,
the Democrats
as
are
we found
hoping.
in the NBC News poll recently, that the Democrats closed that enthusiasm gap. And Chuck, you were talking about that yesterday, the enthusiasm. What was it?
Hey, it's Karl Rove. See what Karl Rove got to say.
Would not be involved in the race. McConnell invested $35 million in the race, and which would have been useful to spend elsewhere, but Vance needed the help because he won the primary with less than 30% of the vote and was being challenged by Ryan.
Worth noting that Vance was one of the candidates who had criticized McConnell.
Right.
And McConnell weighs in with...
All right. I've had about enough of all this news and statistics for one night. I think I want to make it a wrap. I want to be clear about something. I mean, if you are watching this show, but according to my app, it says I have one viewer. Who that viewer is, I don't know, but thank you. I think that it's not right that the media has gone out of their way to block the reality of what's on the ground in this country. And you heard that last lady said that the exit polls show that people were frustrated. People are upset with both parties. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And a lot of the voting that's happening is out of anger. Same with me. A lot of my voting was people telling me who I can and cannot vote for, telling me that my perception is crazy and that I'm an idiot or that I'm not intelligent or that I don't know what I'm talking about. You fueled me. You actually kicked me in the gear to say, okay, well, I'll prove you wrong. Let me go on an investigation spree, which I did 6 years ago. That's how I got here today. So I don't understand why the need to belittle other people. I don't think just because you vote Democrat or you're an independent or you're a Republican or whatever, I don't think of you as less. I don't do that. I don't think of you as less than me because you have a difference in opinion or a difference in ideology. I respect you. I give you that much dignity and respect when I approach you and when I talk about politics or we have a debate or an argument. But what I've noticed is the reverse. You call me conspiracy theorist, you could tell me I'm a Nazi, you tell me all these different labels you slap on me. And that I'm not intelligent, and that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm not a professor, and I didn't go to school, and I didn't study political science, and that's where you lost me. Because when we came to the table, I saw you as my equal. I saw you as somebody who was willing to have a discourse about the issues in this country and possible solutions. But that's not what I was met with. I was met with, I am inferior to you. I am less than you. And right away, if you come at me with that attitude, good luck budging me on any situation or in any topic. Because at that point, it's war. It is. At that point for me, if you come at me with such aggressive, righteous indignation and like virtue signaling and acting as if somehow you're holier than thou and you're better than the rest of this country and you know better, that's tyrannical. That's a tyrannical force. That means that you think yourself to be like a god, that you have all the answers and that you know what's best for everyone, and that censorship is okay, and that excluding certain people because they may not think like you think is good. I didn't like that. And I saw it ramp up. I saw that kind of thinking ramp up or get exacerbated by the pandemic. And that's why I sprung into action. That's why I got passionate. That's why I got hardcore into this. Because I knew the work had to, the groundwork had to happen. People like me had to start coming forward and speaking up and saying, this is not right. You cannot treat your fellow American this way. And then you throw in my face the whole January 6th thing. And I say to you, that was an isolated incident that took place at the Capitol. And by the way, nothing was wrong. You're allowed to protest because people have been protesting months leading up to that incident. Right? And they were dealt with the same way. There was killings, there was incidents, there was bombings, there was burning of cities. That incident, somebody got killed at the Capitol. Let that investigation take place with that institution, with that scenario. But you don't make everybody who is there guilty by association. That's where I draw the line. That's where I had to pump your brakes and say, hey, you know the Ashley Babbitt thing and whatever happened? I agree with you. Let's investigate. Let's find out why the police weren't called to the Capitol until it was too late. Let's find out what happened. Who ushered in those people inside the Capitol and why? Let's find out who was breaking all those windows on the outside. There's a lot of things to investigate with that scenario. But instead, what you and the media chose to do was lump everybody in who was different in political ideology and persecute them. And that's where I draw the line. Because if we wanted to, we could do the same to you about why cities were burnt down, why riots were taking place, why looting was happening all over this country. We could have done the same thing, but we didn't. We just said, okay, they got it out of their system. And now here we got at the Capitol a similar scenario play out. It just happened to be a different set of ideologies playing out, which, by the way, that's our legal constitutional right. That's not an insurrection. So the classification, it is misclassified on purpose to serve a political agenda of persecution and to enforce new draconian laws to start locking up anybody in this country who have a difference in political ideology or perspective. That's where this is headed. This is headed to a very dangerous place. And you all are not doing anything about it. You're going along with the narrative. And you're shutting other people up. And you're agreeing with the platforms that censoring other voices you don't agree with. How could you tolerate that? How could you allow that in your country and tell me that democracy is on the ballot? You willing to put somebody else who don't talk how you like in timeout, get their account banned, have them censored or shadow banned, and you're agreeing with you are watching all there, you know, you all are agreeing with the platforms for doing that. I have spoken to many of you many of the people I know. I would type on Facebook and I would ask you, like, how do you feel about this situation? And each one of you justified censorship, saying that censorship at the level of blocking Trump and anybody who support Trump is necessary because, and then fill in the blank. You all gave your reason, whatever silly reason that was. Which in return, I could have done the same for you. And that's the point. You cannot police speech. Because the minute you start to police speech at that level, there's some agreement we could come to as a community. We could say, you know what, it's a platform, let's try to kind of let the algorithm regulate certain hate speech, or maybe give somebody a second chance to rephrase something. That I understand. I understand that completely, which, by the way, the algorithm already does. Sometimes I will type something and say, boy, you're real stupid. I'll just type it out, and the algorithm will come back and say, people have been banned or blocked for saying that. How about you rephrase it? And it give you a suggestion how to rephrase it. And it rephrase it, and I thought, that was good. That was a nice idea. I could work with that. I could work with something like that. An algorithm that trains you how to talk to people. That sounds better to me than an algorithm that shuts you up because you didn't say what the narrative was at the time. What kind of a country are we creating if we have to block and stop and shut people out who don't talk what we don't agree with? How are we going to learn anything or figure out where we stand on any issue if we don't have debates or arguments? How are we going to grow as a country if we start taking this mentality and attitude that Group A is evil, so Group B must be the right one? Rather than everybody saying, you know what, I might think a little different about something, you might think a little different about something, let's come together and have a conversation about it. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's talk about it. Let me lay all the issues out on the table that concern me, and let's match it up with the issues that concern you, and then let's cross-reference and see where we connect, where we have similarities, where we might differ. And if we should have a difference, it is very easy to respect someone and say, I love you, I care for you as a fellow citizen, I appreciate you, I respect you, and I respect you enough that you will make a decision that's best for this country. You're going to go vote for who you're going to vote for, and I'm going to vote for who I'm going to vote for. And come the day after election, we all go back to work and make our money and pay taxes and feed our families and build businesses and succeed in life. Because at the end of the day, that's what a real democracy is. A real democracy is people who respect each other's opinions and decisions politically, religiously, whatever the case might be, and can find commonalities to come together and be united as a country in that manner. But you see, when people start talking this nonsense about beware with that group because that group this, and beware with this group because this group that, watch yourself, because I done watching you already. I done checking your scene to see where you coming from with that attitude, with that logic you bring in there. I never once tell anybody who was a Democrat they're evil or wrong. I lie. One time I post something about that, but that was to get the attention of the group that was persecuting me at the time. The persecution has stopped, thank God, because I stood up for myself. And I grew a backbone, and I say, I'm not going to let nobody tell me in America, in the United States of America, with the Constitution of these United States, tell me what I can and cannot say, who I can and cannot vote for. That is my right. That is my constitutional right. I have that right, as do you. And we also have the ability, because of the First Amendment, to have a discussion, an argument, a debate, and come to an agreement or a disagreement, and go out and vote for who you think you agree with. And call it done. Leave your disagreement at the polls. Whoever take office, let them take office and let their work show who they are. Let their policies show who they are. And I go tell you this. The Democrats have shown me for 2 years where their policies lie, where their allegiances lie, and who they really, what their real plan is. I have watched the Democratic Party tell us to our face on the news when they get on the sound bites there with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, even Joe Biden. I have sound bite after sound bite. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to go on YouTube and pull up all the videos and chop it up and make little cut up sound bites of all of them saying that in order for us to compete with China and Russia, America has to become an autocracy. And therefore, we have to put policies in place to take the Constitution away from the United States and bring us under the United Nations as one global country so that we can therefore compete with China. This is what the overall agenda is. This is no lie. This is no conspiracy theory. You could go to their website and read it. You could go and read the plan, the agendas that these people have laid out. There is no secrecy here. And you people coming to me with abortion and we have to stand up for women's rights, and there's not going to be any human rights if you all continue this line. You could forget about talking about women's rights and abortion if you all continue to ignore the bigger picture that's playing out here. The bigger animal that's eaten from behind the scene. You're not looking at the big machine coming from behind chewing, chomp, chomp, chomp. And you're down here fighting about abortion, no abortion, abortion, no abortion, abortion, no abortion. And how sad have we become as a nation where we so much don't like responsibility. We have become a nation of people who don't take responsibility and accountability for anything, that we are just no different than a banana republic or than another country like Trinidad and Tobago, where I just came from vacation, where everybody in Trinidad, the mentality in that island is, not me is the government fault, not me is the neighbor fault, not me is the criminal them fault, not me is another person fault. That same mentality is growing in this country because why? We are not taking responsibility for ourselves, for the unborn children who are in the wombs. We treat them like they're just a choice to make, and we discard them like rubbish. Meanwhile, people are sterile and cannot have children, and our population is dwindling at a rapid rate. The data is there, the facts are there. I'm not making this up. This is facts. You could look this up. Right? So all you're here talking all this nonsense, but you're all missing the bigger picture that's going on behind the scenes. Alright? So I just want to leave you with something, and that is this. I respect you. I love you. Right? I mean that with all my heart. I appreciate and think that you have something incredible and amazing to offer this world. And because of these great United States with the constitutional laws we have the luxury of disagreeing on things and having a debate about it. But at the fundamental core underneath that, we have to come together in unity to understand that we have to protect the very foundation that gives us the freedom to have a disagreement. That's my angle. That's my whole thing. And while they're on Facebook and Instagram, I post a lot of stuff that make you rattle and frazzle inside, and you're always trying to post this. And you're thinking to yourself, this is what crazy, this is what about man, I don't understand what you're doing. That's the point. The point is to shock you, to jolt you, to get you to wake up and realize that the fundamental thing at stake here is the constitutional underlying right for you and I to have a disagreement and still shake hands and go out about that day. And be good productive citizens of this country, and to take accountability that if we have sex and we make a child, we take responsibility as a nation, and we make sure that we take care of this up-and-coming citizen of this country, this unborn citizen who no fault of his own came into your womb. Where's the right of that child? Where's the right of that unborn citizen? Meanwhile, there are people out there who try to have children and cannot have children. And you have people who do it loosely, lewd behavior, making children in a one-night stand and just really walking into the clinic. Boom, kill it, get rid of it. Future citizen, gone. Future doctor, gone. Future scientist, gone. Future engineer, gone. Future movie star, gone. Future president, gone. That's the whole thing that is sickens me about our culture, what we are turning into, what we become. Why I get up on here and I talk, even though I have nobody watching me right now, I don't care. I'm going to put my voice out there and express how I feel. I hope you feel inspired to do the same. We have to inspire our country to become a meritocracy again. We have to eliminate this lazy mindset that we are brewing with this new generation coming up. There's new people coming into this society who think that everything needs to be handed to them, that they are owed something. They're only owed life. That's it. We are all only owed life. There's nothing else after that. Once you have life and you have opportunity, in this country you have opportunity. I can't tell you the amount of times I left the United States. I went to India, I went back to Trinidad, and in both cases when I was in those countries, I always wanted to come back here. Because I knew once I landed on American soil, I had the ability to work my hands off and build myself. In 6 years' time, from landing here, back from India, back from Trinidad, I owned my own home. Think about that. Where in this world can you go and show up here with no money in your pocket, negative $6,000 in debt, $30,000 in school loans, and work your butt off and be in your own home? That's a blessing. To me, that's a blessing. But now there's talk about how nobody will own anything in the future, coming from the very same people who you are supporting. That's why I say I look at policy. I look at policy. I look at policies. I don't look at your virtue signaling. Don't come to me with, oh, well, the Democrats are more nice and we like to talk and we're politically correct and we care about people. You all don't care about nothing. Black Lives Matter. Really? You do care about Black Lives? When? Since when? Name one time all you care that much. Who is going into the ghettos and building and reinvesting and restructuring and putting infrastructure and schools and trying to make sure that those children don't end up in gangs and ensuring that drugs don't come into this country and go into those areas, and that we de-incentivize the growth of crime in those areas, and that we make sure we incentivize fathers being in the homes with those families? Who is putting policies in place to build the black communities the real right way? Not the Democrats, I could tell you that. Because I have watched 60 years of policy destroy the black community. And not just in America, in Trinidad too, all over the world. Because they removed the male figure from the home and replaced the male figure with the government. Government school, government food, lunch program, government laptop. The government become your daddy. So your government is your daddy and taking care of you. You don't need no father. So what values you going to learn? What willingness will you have to be a man or a woman in this society, to be a productive member and to give back to your country? Like John F. Kennedy said, ask not what my nation could do for me, but what could I do for my nation? How could I give back to my country and my fellow countrymen? I hope for me this is it. One of the ways. I expect on doing more. Plan on doing more. Anyway, again, a little tired. You all have a good night. I think it's a toss-up right now. I think it's going to be kind of a wash with the election here. It's going to be bacchanal for the next, or chaos for the next 2 weeks, I believe. I estimate about 2 weeks of chaos in the news. This counting, that county was red, and it went blue, then back to red. And we're going to see a lot of that coming up here, because that's kind of what we saw when Trump lost. It was the same exact thing. And now, because everything's so close, be ready for a lot of chaos in the news. It's coming. You could already see it. Look at up there. Look at how close the races are. You could already see the confusion is going to start coming our way. But that's besides the point. I just wanted to give a message to you out there as to my position and why I am, how I am, where I am, how I see things. And as I go along, I'll introduce you more to my mindset. I'm not scared. I'm not afraid. People always telling me, boy, don't say that. Don't go there and say that. People might think this and people... So what? I don't care what people think, because my constitution grants me that right, that freedom, to not have to care what you think about me. And guess what? If you disagree with me, I'll probably have 100 people over here who agree with me. So if 100 people over here disagree with me, I have 100 people over here who agree with me. And so everything will work itself out, baby. It I have nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be fearful of, in my eyes. And that's the beauty of being an American citizen. So with that, have a good night. God bless. Take care.